this is one of the finest action sequences of all time.
It's great.
Of all time. Like, and it makes James Bond.
I'm going to let you finish. I'm going to let you finish.
Welcome to SinCast, presented by Cinemasins.
This episode of the SinCast is brought to you by NatureBox. Go to naturebox.com/SinCast to get 50% off your first order. All right, everybody, welcome to the SinCast. This is Chris Atkinson from Cinemasins, joined as always by the voice of Cinemasins, Jeremy Scott.
Hello.
And from Music Video Sins, Barrett Share.
Hello, everyone.
And today, we finally gotten to 2015.
Open the door! How'd you get in the plane? Not in the plane, I'm on the plane!
Chewie, we're home.
Congratulations, San Francisco! You've ruined pizza!
I got my head turned inside out.
You don't know that movie? Ghost gives Dan Aykroyd oral sex.
Here's Margot Robbie in a bubble bath to explain.
And for gosh sake, watch your language.
Is it too late to change the name?
Straight out of Compton!
Where'd you get a suit?
Made it, didn't I?
It's always been me, the author of all your pain.
In the face of overwhelming odds, I'm left with only one option. I'm gonna have to science the shit out of this.
Yeah. Feels like it was only yesterday.
It does, and now it's 2 years old.
It's crazy, isn't it? We were full on. We've been doing this for almost 2 years at this point. At least the Sins videos, not the podcast, and it really doesn't feel like 2015 should be that long ago.
Actually, we had been straight up 2 years at this point, and it would end up being our third year of Cinemasins.
Yeah,
at this point. But
and we've covered 40 years of cinema so far.
That is crazy.
That is crazy.
It was all due to what was it? An email to you or something?
Yeah,
like that?
it was. I think it was a message on the subreddit.
It was a subreddit thing.
I think so. Maybe a tweet.
And it
probably changes every time I tell the stories.
And now we need to get that guy to come up with another idea.
I was going to say, too bad the SinCast is going to be over next week.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Never going to do it again.
See ya.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so 2015, obviously the biggest movie that there was and the biggest movie there ever has been, Star Wars: The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
And so I think this movie sort of starts losing more and more luster every day that goes by, right?
It's funny how steady I think the negative, I guess, impression in the public persona has been. There are a lot of people that think this is bad or average, and it seems to be solely because it is so much like A New Hope, which I do think holds the movie back. But they're playing it on stars like crazy. I see bits and pieces of it probably every week when I'm flipping around, and I still think the three main leads, the new characters they brought in, are all really great. And the thrilling scenes, that Millennium Falcon fight where the cannon breaks, and then the Poe coming in with the X-wing, all that still really works.
Yeah.
So this is still in the B+ area.
No,
for
this
me.
is
absolutely.
This is good. I think more and more that whole New Hope thing started to gain more weight in my mind about this.
That and it's a Death Star, but we're calling it a Star Killer base.
Right. I mean, and it's way better than the last Death Star. I read something recently was talking about, I think it was in Cracked or something, where they were talking about like how this new up and coming evil empire that doesn't even have the resources of the last empire.
Yeah.
And suddenly they're making something that's 5 times whatever the hell it is bigger than the Death Star and everything. But yeah, that's the thing. It's got a lot of those same things in it. And it's over the last year or so, this movie has started like going,
and especially in light of Rogue One, which is inevitably going to be compared to the other most recent Star Wars movie, and I don't think Rogue One for me holds up as well as Force Awakens. Rogue One has almost made Force Awakens look a little better to me.
That's the exact same impression that I had too, because when you go back and you watch Force Awakens, it is so much more fun than Rogue One for various reasons. And Rogue One is fine and it's enjoyable and everything. But when you go back and you see like all of just the wow moments in here, and like you said, those characters are a lot more relatable to me than the Rogue One characters. They're more enduring, definitely.
Yes.
But I mean, Kylo Ren is just a super badass, great villain.
Yeah.
And Jen Erso.
Yeah. He might as well be at this point. They all have these names like this. I think they put them through a matrix of some sort. Like, wouldn't sound Star Warsian, Let's put some weird like Y and, in their name.
Like a 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, those characters are just more interesting to me overall.
Mm-hmm.
While we're talking about Force Awakens, I read an article this morning before I came down here that apparently Disney and Colin Trevorrow are meeting today to start brainstorming what to do with Episode 9 because apparently Princess Leia had a more prominent role.
Oh.
And now that she's passed, they are going to address what to do. And the article I read said one option is to write her out. And then, of course, the other option is to do what Rogue One did
and do
a
kidding.
CGI character. And I'm like, just recast the role if you need it that much. They did it with Dumbledore. They did it in the Matrix movies. And ultimately doesn't hurt the films in either case. So I really hope they don't CGI Princess Leia into Episode 9.
Yeah.
Can't you just get somebody who's awesome to fill that role who would be, fantastic? Put Helen Mirren in it for all I care.
Jesus.
It would be awesome.
Yeah, Meryl Streep.
Yeah.
I guess because she's such an inimitable character because it's been so long and it's burned into our childhood memories that would be more difficult than something like a Dumbledore, which was only, I think, 2 movies in or something like that.
Yeah, but this Grand Moff Tarkin thing has been universally panned.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anybody going, boy, that was great.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it makes sense to put somebody that everybody respects in the role. It doesn't matter if Carrie Fisher has all this baggage with the role or not. I feel like you just put in another person that we all like.
Or just don't have that character in there, just
don't
with
put
Moff Tarkin.
Don't put the character in.
Yeah, I think we all agree the worst option would be to CGI her into the movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway, I just thought I'd bring that up because it was topical. Although this episode is like a week and a half out and it won't be topical anymore.
Oh, it'll be fine.
Look at what I did.
It was a big year for going back to our past and trying to make something popular again, and they sure did with Jurassic World. And this movie, I'm sorry guys, it made $652 million domestic. I'll never understand why. It's a piece of fucking garbage.
Yeah, I really hate this movie.
Yeah.
It is a bunch of cliches. It is a lot of the first movie retrampled on, and it is too pretty. It is. This is one of those cases where the CGI is so good it feels too fake.
Yeah.
And I miss Stan Winston. We've made this joke plenty of times. How can, Jurassic Park, the original from 93, still look better than the shit we're putting out today?
Yeah.
That's insane, but that's also, I think, the power of practical effects, at least to trick the human brain when they're done well. I really didn't like this movie a lot.
We're just talking about, I think we're talking about here just that they don't want to take the time to do this stuff anymore. They just don't want to do it. They have a release date carved out before they even start making the movie. And they say, what's the fastest way we can do this and make it look decent enough for everybody to be, if it looks fake, it doesn't really matter, whatever. And that's what they're getting to. They don't want to perfect that anymore. They don't want to do it.
It's also the storyline is like the bare beats. It's like a Jurassic Park clone without all the good stuff.
Yeah.
It's the lowest level excitement. And to a certain audience, my 8-year-old son included, they love it because it's easy. It's popcorny and it doesn't aspire to do anything more than that. And that's so disappointing because we'd seen if you shoot a little bit higher, you can get there.
Yeah. Yeah. Even Lost World Jurassic Park, which has plenty of flaws, is still way more enjoyable, has way more relatable characters, has some new beats compared to the first film. I didn't expect us to all hate this quite as much as we do, but that'll probably catch some backlash.
Well, and then when your movie spends a good portion of it going back to how much that first park was legit,
right,
and all this, and like being very nostalgic about it, you're not talking, it's code. It's not the park was legit. They're talking about the movie. We're talking about the good feelings we had. This is that whole South Park season that just happened where they had the member berries, and the member berries are all like sitting there talking, don't you remember Tatooine? Don't you remember this? Don't you remember that? And everything. And it's basically what this movie is. It's just nothing but, hey, remember that? That was cool. And then they put in, Yeah, they put in a couple of dinosaurs in there that there's the hybrid, which the whole hybrid thing pisses me off. The the whole like, oh, I can hide away from your sensors while I'm inside this cage.
Yeah.
And then never use it again. Yeah. And then the stupidity of them all wandering in there and being like, well, they didn't see it on the sensors, so let's go in and see what's up with this. It just, I hate this movie so much.
Yeah, and then you haven't even gotten to the Raptor Bros yet.
Yeah.
Trainable Raptor Bros. I'm not going to say anything more. Raptor Bros.
Yeah.
Fucking stupid.
Yeah.
I love you, Chris Pratt. What were you thinking?
I know. What a waste of two really good Bryce Dallas Howard and Chris Pratt.
Well, Vincent D'Onofrio's in this, and all he does is phone in like cliche bad guy number 10.
Yep,
right.
Exactly.
Let's get to something good here. Inside Out.
Oh,
yeah.
Pixar back.
Yeah, thank God.
Yeah, it's I'm getting very cynical though. I've told you about this. That I think that Disney just go ahead and takes all the good ones for their animation department, and I think they secretly want Pixar to fail, even though Pixar, it doesn't matter. They just crank out all these movies that are sequels or stuff, whatever,
right.
And they make the money, so it doesn't really matter. But I think they secretly want to give all their good stuff to their own department. And I think, I don't know how Inside Out slipped through there. Maybe it's like to throw us off the scent. I'm very conspiratorial about this
because
bullshit.
we will also be talking about the Good Dinosaur for 2019.
Right, exactly.
And that's one of the turds that Disney let Pixar keep.
Yeah, but Inside Out is dandy.
It's fantastic. We talked about this in the movies that made you cry. It actually gave me real tears and then one of the biggest laughs ever within 10 minutes of each other when she breaks down with her parents and then that girl. Really charming, really inventive, really whimsical. The land inside her brain and all the colors and everything they do with all that, I just think is really, really brilliant. I like it a lot.
Yeah. What we have always talked about since we started talking about Pixar movies was their inclusion of emotions and heart. And in this case, literally. And they finally get back because Cars 2 certainly doesn't have the heart. It's got more Mater, all that stuff.
Right.
And they went on this downward trajectory in just style over substance, and now they've gotten back to almost pure substance, but it looks beautiful. This was one of my favorite movie-going experiences of this year, was seeing this movie.
Yeah,
and it was a big surprise for me.
Yeah, and it was, and my favorite scene in it is her talking to her friend back home.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
just all the way it starts off, like oh hey, they're friends and they're talking about they're catching up and everything, and just the subtlest things that her friend says, not meaning to hurt her,
right,
hurts her deeply.
Yep.
And I think that's the greatest thing about that movie is, and they could have spelled it out, they could have done a lot of stupid things with that or whatever, but instead you got to realize you back home you've been replaced. You didn't need they don't need you, is what she gets from that message or whatever. But I love Inside Out. The only thing about Inside Out is I get to the point a lot of times where I think that, well, nobody's seen this, so let's make a whole movie about it. Herman's Head, remember?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And there were a lot of people who brought that up when this movie came out and everything. Herman's Head was a short-lived Fox series that even had Yardley Smith, who plays, Lisa. It's all about the 4 different things in this guy's head that make him, make his decisions and everything. Yeah. So I feel like that's one of those things where they're like, oh, that's a good idea. Let's make this into a movie, and make it our own thing and make it successful. And, and that's the only thing about Inside Out.
It's also not really, but also like that Seinfeld episode where Jerry's penis plays chess against his brain.
It's kind of like that.
You're no match for me.
It's kind of like Bad Santa.
Kind of like that.
All right. Go for it.
Well, let's just go to the Good Dinosaur while we're on Pixar.
Oh, my God.
This is, as we said, The Lion King with dinosaurs. It doesn't even try to be anything more than that. The only positive thing I can say, and it will be glowing, is the animation is incredible.
Yeah,
the
that water
in this movie looks fucking real.
Yeah, it does.
And that's frustrating to me when they take... That's artistry. Whoever did that, many someones, they cared about making that look real.
Yeah.
But the story people didn't care about making that feel real.
Yeah.
And this is one of the most made me angry because of how bad it was movies I have seen in years.
Well, and how many damn dinosaur movies are we going to have to watch in 1 year? You have that, and then Disney themselves. This is again going back to like, when they did Brave, it was like Brother Bear. They did this, and that was the movie Dinosaur that came out a few years before this. I don't even remember that dinosaur movie. That was another like computer animated thing that before Disney got really good at it. But yeah, I mean, it's just, it's not anything inventive. It's not anything like, oh, that's cool. I've never thought about what dinosaurs think when they're like, when it doesn't have that same.
And I love how like 3 months before it comes out, they recast everyone. They recast every single voice. And you watch the movie and you're like, yeah, that was the problem. The voices weren't working. That was what needed to be fixed. That was the overhaul you needed.
Right. All right.
What else?
How about your favorite? The Martian.
The Martian.
Yes, this was my second favorite movie going experience of this year, and I actually watched this in 3D, and it was the only time I didn't see Gravity in 3D. The only time I can remember loving the 3D and regarding it as kind of essential to that first viewing experience. I thought it was terrific. Everything about this movie is enjoyable. It's not the best movie ever made, but it's so enjoyable.
I agree. I think. There's a lot of moving parts doing really good work here. And this movie may be prettier than Prometheus. I really feel like I'm on Mars on those Mars shots. I don't know where they shot it and how much of that is CG and how much of that is camera filter, but I've seen a lot of movies where people go to Mars and it never looks anywhere near as realistic as
like
this movie.
Red Planet and Mission to Mars.
Mission to Mars.
They actually shot this on Mars.
Oh yeah.
Oh
that
shit.
was why.
Well, I didn't know.
Man, that must have taken forever. Like, how does Matt Damon look so young?
He's dead.
No,
He's dead. He's long since been gone.
He made all of his movies before he made this.
And then he went on.
So it was like in 75 years, we're going to be seeing Matt Damon look the same. He never ages.
It's amazing.
I have seen this movie close to 50 times at this point.
It's crazy.
No lie, when I'm flipping channels, if The Martian is on, it does not matter what I'm watching. I will flip over to The Martian.
Think about
sports.
Think about you have so many enjoyable actors in this. Jeff Daniels doing his thing. Chiwetel Ejiofor doing his thing. I love the Chiwetel Ejiofor thing when he's like talking about the message that he gives to Damon, and he's like, do you think he means? Are you fucking kidding me?
Right.
Or do you think he means? Are you fucking kidding me? And she's like, I think it's the first one. He's like, yeah, but it goes through the whole thing, and she goes, "Oh, it could be the second one." You have Donald Glover show up, as and he's really fun in it. Kristen Wiig, Sean Bean. There's just and then you have Jessica Chastain, Michael Pena. I love Michael Pena in this too. He's so funny. It's like somebody had to talk to you, and I drew the short straw. And all that. I love all that type of stuff. But so many enjoyable actors. Like every time it gets to one of them, you're never like, oh, I wish it was on this person right now, or I wish it was.
Right.
It's how it fills that up. But you're always wanting to be with Damon on how he's figuring out all this stuff, and that's the thing that I love about the movie and the book too, is just him working it out and just saying, all right, how do science the shit out of it? What are we going to do?
It's a triumph of character. Like he never loses hope. That's the perfect person to root for.
Oh yeah.
Is him being capable and B, having the tenacity and just to say, like, I'm not going to die out here. I'm going to figure out how to do this.
Yeah, and he makes so many mistakes too. Yeah. Like, he blows himself up the first time he tries to make water. And he blows up the hab and ends up having to sleep in the rover. One of the things I love most about this movie, I may have talked about this before, is how cleverly they get around the rating. Mm-hmm. Because on the surface, there's like 6 F-bombs in this movie, but in reality, there's only 1.
Yeah.
And it's that one moment where he's taking a sip of fucking grape juice or something, and he's putting the cap on it, he goes, fuck you, Mars. That's the only real one. Yeah. The others are either asterisked in the text, like the one you were talking about. Are you fucking kidding me? That's asterisked out. And then one of the guys reads a message that has F-bombs, and he just says F word, and
Yeah,
Jared
yeah,
form.
yeah. And there's also when he finds out that they didn't tell his crew that he was alive, and it's just all silent and everything. You know he said it, but it's silent
Yeah.
and everything. So yeah, you're right. They get around that pretty easily, even though it's like there are probably like 9 to 10 fucks in that or whatever.
It's very. I've never seen a movie quite that clever about it.
Where, and we'll get to this later probably in the questions. Like, I think in other countries, like that wouldn't be a big deal at all.
Oh, right.
And here it's like, you say 3 and then you got an R rating because more than 3, that's when kids start using it.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous.
Is this Ridley Scott's best movie?
No, Alien's his best movie.
Alien is still his best movie. This is his best modern movie.
And then
best since Gladiator.
And then you would have arguable Blade Runner in there. I mean, Blade Runner is a divisive movie among a lot of people, but Blade Runner's got to be up there. And then you're going to have some people who put Gladiator. I don't, but Gladiator's going to be up there for some people. He's made so many movies.
Yeah, no kidding.
He's a workhorse.
Yeah, he comes out with one almost every year, and sometimes 2. Black Hawk Down and Gladiator both came out the same year. But yeah, I would put it up there as far as as far as it's got to be top 5 at least.
Yeah, and it's weird. There's almost no other movie like this in the sense that I know it really well. I could probably quote it while it was on. I know everything that's going to happen, and I still get chills at the end when they rescue him. And I don't know how the movie does that exactly. I've got some theories, but I just think it's a mastery of editing. The way they put that final sequence together gets me on the edge of my seat, even though I know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
By the way, there are a lot of people who wished that the world in Avatar was real. I wish this world was real.
Oh yeah,
The Martian, because what is happening in this one is you have a world where NASA is respected like they were in. It's like in the 60s again.
Yeah.
And you have people who are actively involved in. You have they're filling up Times Square with people who, and I still don't believe that, by the way. Like I never will believe that ever once. But it's a world where you can fill up Times Square looking at somebody coming home from space, and there's a lot of people thinking very smartly about problems and everything. China's working with us.
The world's, continents are working together. It's amazing.
It's kind of a utopia when you think about it. I wish that, and we're about to get into the next few years. That's going to be, we're going to be completely opposite of that.
Probably.
Yeah. So anyway, what else you got?
Ex Machina.
Ex Machina.
First one came to mind.
Yeah.
What a surprise this movie was.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, I only went and saw it because I had read what a surprise this movie is.
Yeah.
And I hadn't really heard much about it going into it. I just knew that AI was involved and the Turing test. And boy, oh boy, I love this movie.
Yeah.
That's the perfect way to see it, I think, is to have because I had high expectations going into it, but I had no knowledge of it. I just knew because they had great trailers. They had trailers that left a lot to the imagination. You see Oscar Isaac in this dance scene in the middle of the fucking trailer, and you're like, "What the hell is that?"
Oscar Isaac is great. You know what? This movie, and I could be wrong. I don't know a lot about game theory, but this feels like a very game theory movie to me.
Yeah,
like how the characters interact. There's a whole lot of I've got to screw this person to save this person, or I've got to do, there's a lot of that type of thing going on in this movie. And
it's all pragmatism. Yeah, it's all like getting the way that he gets to that Ava character is so, Machiavellian and pragmatic that's the ends justify the means.
Yeah. And it's, and it really, it plays a lot on male characters who really want to save a woman and all this other type of stuff is it plays on that a lot. This movie just there's a mood to it. It's just it's not exciting in the way of pulse pounding action.
Except at the very end.
Except at the end. It's more just about it's almost like you're just there. It's like a Black Mirror episode or something like that.
It's intellectually tense.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
And Oscar Isaac is electric in this role. I think he's better in this than anything I've seen him in.
Yeah.
And Alicia Vikander, however you say her name.
Yeah, I think that's right.
She's fantastic in this. She's way better in this than she was in Jason Bourne.
Yeah.
As Oscar Isaac is better than he was in the X-Men movie. I want to forget.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But even Donald Gleason.
Donal.
Donal.
Yes.
Is that how that's pronounced?
Yeah, I looked it up this morning. It's like
I,
tonal.
I really want to call him Damen Hall.
Yeah.
Can I just
wanna
call him Brendan's son?
Yeah.
He's fantastic. I love that we get two different versions of what he can play this year with Force Awakens, where he's almost like Hitler-like as this bad guy. And then on this side, we have this meek, timid, awkward guy. I love everything about this movie, and what's great for me is how much it holds up for repeat viewings. It feels that first time through like a movie that you may not want to watch again because you know what's going to happen. It's not that for me.
Yeah, no, I think it's the exact opposite. Like I wanted to dive back into it and figure out, like, hold on, there's different pieces of that you can get on repeat viewing.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know this director's name, but he's on this list of one to watch that we've been talking about recently with Denis Villeneuve.
Nice.
Got that one right.
Alex Garland.
Yes. Okay, so he's the writer-director of this. He did something previous to this that was indie and had some success. I'm not sure what it was. But
Little
anyway.
Miss Sunshine.
Hmm?
Little Miss Sunshine.
No.
I'm kidding.
No.
I was
think
about
it was
to
a
say,
sci-fi.
Good Will Hunting.
Some kind of sci-fi thing, you idiot.
Well, Ex Machina was his first movie as a director. He had written stuff like The Beach, 28 Days Later. I guess it was with Danny Boyle for a bit. Sunshine was another Danny Boyle movie. The Never Let Me Go, which we've also talked about.
All right.
And he also wrote the screenplay to Dread.
Interesting.
Those are all pretty good.
Yeah. I skipped over some stuff I did not know. I'm sure the Batman black and white TV series is fucking awesome. I just don't know.
I don't know what that is.
He did an episode on Batman black and white, whatever that is.
It's Batman tackling race issues.
Yeah, exactly.
Look to the cookie lane.
He's going around dancing and smashing up cars and stuff.
That is such a better way to say it than I was going to say it.
Oh shit! But he's also going to be the writer on the Halo movie that has just been announced, and his next movie that is in post-production is called Annihilation, which I have no idea about.
It's it's a sci-fi thing. I think I remember reading about it.
But yeah, he is. He would have to be. We'd have to probably put him up there in that because Ex Machina is amazing, and
for a first-time director,
yeah, man,
so assured.
Yeah,
like there's no doubt in the way he shot and edited that. That was exactly what he wanted.
Yeah.
Also, I want to live in that house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, not once you take some of the murderous robots out of there or whatever.
Right.
But that house and that setting, God, I loved it. It was fantastic.
Yeah. All right. So some other big ones. Let's get into the Marvel stuff. Avengers: Age of Ultron.
Bleh.
How disappointing was this?
This was supremely disappointing.
It's not. I don't think it's bad. It's just that on the heels of the first one, it didn't climb up as high as it should have. Like I'd still put this as like a B-.
I might go a little bit lower than that. These movies make me exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to watch these things. There's so many different things going on now. We have to worry about like what's going on in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show now.
Yeah.
We've got to know like all these small things that apparently, like to enjoy a movie now, you've got to know all this stuff that just, in this movie, I just feel like it's just a total mess. I don't like the action scenes at all. Everything just, I wish just once, and I don't know if I can describe this any better. I just wish once that these characters, when they're in battle scenes, were doing something that they are needed to do that. That's their power. You put Hulk in this situation, but they're all just beating ass. That's all they're doing. They're
in
just
very close crop shots.
Right. And
because almost like the Anchorman 2, it's like they maybe couldn't get everybody on set the same day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's how that final circular battle feels to me.
Yeah.
This movie's all over the place. I mean, and it's waste of a character like Vision who shows up, almost after the entire movie has gone by. It's this bizarre reliance on Hawkeye for a good chunk of the movie in the middle of it.
Hawkeye's the heart, man.
I guess, yeah. And then the villain is just indescribably obtuse. Like you don't know what the limits of his powers are,
right?
And it's such a waste of James Spader chewing up his lines.
You also don't know the limits of his sarcasm and his quipping, because it never stops.
And they do a lot of things in this too, where you're like, like when he first starts getting into the internet or whatever he's doing. They show all these like visual, like, look at him, he's going into the internet now. And you're just like, what does that mean?
Yeah. Or you see like the yellow Jarvis bits being consumed or fighting with the blue Ultron
what
bits.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
That's all I want to do in the entire time. And then of course they had to put a Thor Ragnarok thing in there.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's too much of a mess now. And I know that there's some people who love it, but oh my God.
I don't even think Joss Whedon is one of those
No,
people.
Joss Whedon, not even the guy who likes this probably. And I feel like he went through the exact same thing that Sam Raimi did with Spider-Man 3, where they basically said, we need to shove as much bullshit in this as possible. You need to do that and make a good movie at the same time, and that's impossible.
It has to be, because up until now, he's rarely missed.
Mm-hmm.
He's really had a sterling track record, including the first Avengers. And man, I think that was the movie overall was a disappointment to me, but to have, if it were a different director or something like that was known for that sort of excess, that would be more explainable, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, I ultimately just think this movie's awful. Too many characters, too many bullshit things that they throw in just because they think they need to. And I'll go back. I probably said this before, but do you remember watching Iron Man and just like, I really hope that they put in some sort of scene in here where there's the next movie is gonna, they did that at the very end.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it belongs.
Mm-hmm.
If you're gonna do Thor Ragnarok, put him at the very end. That's an end credit scene in the middle of the movie.
Yeah.
And oh no, we got 2 more end credit scenes. Don't worry, we got a lot of like coming attractions in this movie.
Yep.
The other one that came out was Ant-Man. We've discussed this before. How Edgar Wright, I feel like, would have made this way better than it ends up being a good movie. It's good, solid, like anti-Marvel movie. But even though it looks like everything Marvel's ever done, it's just. It's kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy and all that. It's not in a part of that Avengers world yet. Yeah. It will be, but it's another one that I just sit there and go, man, this could be so much better than it is.
Yeah, another one that's elevated by Michael Peña's performance.
Yeah,
if I had more of that, then I would love this movie a lot more.
That's the clear Edgar Wright influence. That and the tiny train scene at the end, which reminds me of Wallace and Gromit. I think if we'd gotten a lot more of that Edgar Wright stuff throughout the movie, I think it could have been a blast.
But yeah, can you imagine this movie being shot and edited in the way of Shaun of the Dead or something like that? It would have been amazing to me.
Yeah.
And now it's just, okay, Marvel classically came in and said, this is not our brand, and let's make it just like every other Marvel movie, to the point that Ant-Man looks like Iron Man to me. He looks like every single other character that has come before it.
Yeah.
Paul Rudd is good. I mean, I love Paul Rudd. You put him in anything, I like him. But he's okay in this, and he's good in this. It's just the movie itself. I just feel like it's about 3 steps away from being awesome. Mm-hmm. And this is another movie where they said, oh, this is like a big heist movie. Yeah. It's like a heist. It's kind of like, when they said Captain America Winter Soldier was, paranoid thriller. I was like, it's not really a heist movie, though.
Even people have called Rogue One a heist movie, and I don't get that either.
Yeah.
They steal some plans, maybe, but that's not a heist movie.
It's not, it's not like, it's not like they're sitting there with like blueprints in a basement somewhere, and they're like, all right, we'll need to go here, and we need to take out that guy. And then, it's not like they cased the place before they get it. Ant-Man has some of that. It has a montage of before they go into Michael Douglas's house. Yeah. But even that heist isn't really a heist. It's just like, oh, I've got to burn the door down or whatever it is.
Yeah, there's 2 distinct acts where that are scenes where that does happen, like with putting Michael Peña in place as the security guard and all that stuff when they're about to break in. But again, that doesn't even work out. So it's just like, it's masquerading, I think.
I do want to go on record as hating the fact that because he can turn small, he can talk to ants and they listen and obey his commands. I need the movie to explain more than it does how that is possible.
It's just the transmitter, right? That's their easy explanation to put
it's like a transmitter.
There's a one-line something in there, but even if that allows you to talk to them, why are they all instantly loyal to you? Look, it's one of those things that step on us, only he's our size. They would be wanting to kill that fucker.
Yeah. And this is another movie that throws in like, hey, let's get a connection to the Avengers. Let's have him like have to go into the Avengers compound and run into Anthony Mackie.
Yep.
Yeah,
And-
who's not filming right now?
Yeah.
Falcon.
Yeah.
Let's give me Papa Doc.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Whose power is wings? Never mind.
Right. Okay, back to something good. Mission Impossible Rogue Nation.
Oh,
Yeah.
boy, it would have been easy for them to miss on this after Ghost Protocol. And this is just another big fat home run.
Yeah.
Now, the most attention went to Tom Cruise hanging off the side of the airplane, as it should. When you know as a film viewer that the actor actually strapped himself to a plane for that scene, it adds to the realness, for me at least, when I'm watching the movie. I know I'm not looking at CG fakery. But I'm going to skip right over that and just let's go right to the opera scene.
Yeah.
Because this is one of the finest action sequences of all time.
It's great.
Of all time. Like, and it makes James Bond.
I'm going to let you finish. I'm going to let you finish.
Oh, all right. One of you guys take it from here.
No, go for it.
I was just going to say, makes James Bond's opera scene look
Oh, yeah.
utterly stupid.
Yeah. Well, and that's a smart one too. It's one of those where it's like, I don't know what to do. I have to kill both of these guys in the amount of time that I have? And he's like, wait a minute. No, I don't have to kill both of these people. I can do something like really sneaky here.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about it. And then plus also it ain't bad seeing like a leg, like what's her name? Can't remember her name.
Was it Rebecca Ferguson?
Rebecca Ferguson. When she's like getting ready for all that stuff, and it's like the prominent leg just sitting there, and you're like, yeah, I don't care what happens in this scene. I'll even forget your name. It's that's how good it is.
Oh shit!
Oh my god!
Well, it's the exact opposite of how those Avengers films and Marvel films in general and superhero films in general have cut action, and sticking on even with that plane shot, the cinema verite of just uncut.
Yeah,
that's happening.
Lingering.
That's happening.
Yeah,
even if it were some sort of effect, that's fucking amazing.
Yeah. This is a home run for Christopher McQuarrie.
Yeah.
And he even corrected a couple of our sins on Twitter.
He sure did.
When we said this movie, he's a very good sport about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just as enjoyable as Ghost Protocol. I could watch either of them end to end at any moment. They're just fun, really well shot. Can't wait to see what they do next.
Yeah, exciting. All right.
Another amazing action film that came out, Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh, my balls.
Yeah. This is actually a very good year when it comes
Yeah.
down to it. I mean, this is pretty top heavy with like great stuff, and you think you're about to get into a renaissance, and then 2016 happened. But yes, go for it. Say something about it.
We'll talk about, the reliance on practical effects here. And, it's certainly not like an effects-driven movie. It's a tense thriller.
Yep.
But the fact that they do rely on practical effects for this makes it so much better. I mean, it's as basic of a story as you can get. You're going one way down a road, and then you're coming back down the road.
Yeah.
And it is, from start to finish, just the most enjoyable thriller, one of the most enjoyable thrillers that I think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
This is a very memorable experience for me. We're talking about memorable viewing experiences. Yeah. Chris and I were with Kevin out in L.A., and we saw this at the Chinese Theater where the Walk of Fame and all the stars are. And we all walked out with our hair blown back.
Yeah.
This movie is it just hits the gas and goes. And it maybe gives you 3 or 4 breaths. And it's almost exhausting in the best of ways.
How in the world do they get that music and that just the cars going fast and just like all the just different weird intense things that go on, that scene when Nicholas Hoult is like, what a lovely day and all that. and like they've gone through the whole the sandstorm and all this other type of stuff. By the end of it, like once it's done and they're all like lying out in the sand and everything, I heard a guy go, I heard him do that.
That's exactly how you feel after that.
Yeah.
Because that's like probably 35 minutes into it or something like that. Where there's nothing.
I mean, it's like immediate. Like, once he comes in and he's like, where is everybody? Like, and then he like starts sending them out.
Yeah.
It's just like, boom. It's just nothing but car chase and like it's just, oh my God, it's so good. And there's a lot of people who are like, there's no story to this and all that, but I feel like there's a story.
Oh, yeah.
It's just that it's not the plot of this movie necessarily. Like there's a lot of stuff that's going on in the background of this movie. That is the real story of this movie. Like how they came to get to this position in life where water is such an important resource. And, the guy is breeding all these like women to like have his kids and everything like that. And they're basically, it's just nothing but his boys running around.
I think he calls them all his sons too.
Yeah. So there's a lot, and then just the general like it's been called a feminist picture, and I remember watching it thinking this is a very feminist picture because you got Furiosa, who's the main character in this, and then you have a whole bunch of badass ladies who are like, they have a bunch of pregnant ladies who are badass, and then they run into another like town of badass women.
Yeah,
and
it's like Max is a very distant character in this story. It's called Mad Max, but he's just kind of there to be like, oh, what's going on?
Yeah,
he's almost like the helper, right?
Yeah,
he's not. It's almost like Terminator 2, where she's the main character, but the Terminator's there to help her out, even though the movie's called Terminator.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, keep talking about Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about The Revenant, right?
Yeah.
I didn't misunderstand that email.
Now Tom Hardy continues to like talk through like some sort of like, what is he doing? Like every role has him talking really like it's impossible to. In this one, he's got a great accent though, and look, I love Tom Hardy. Just like every role, it seems like he's trying to find out, how can I make myself less understandable than the last time?
Maybe he's just trying to find the weirdest voice he can get away with.
Yeah.
Before a director tells him to stop.
Do I love The Revenant?
He basically steals this movie. Leo won the Oscar. I think he deserved it. I think he's deserved it plenty of times. And Leo's great in this. The joke is it's Leo grunting for 2.5 hours. And that really bothers me because there have been a lot of characters that don't say a lot that still have a major impact on a story. But what really sets this movie apart is the way Inarritu shoots his action scenes. And we get several long takes here, like that first native raid where they have to get to the boat, and then that shot where he's on the horse jumping off the cliff. And then just the gorgeous cinematography of this winter wasteland. I remember a Reddit thread like 3 years before this movie where someone posted a link to the Wikipedia article about Hugh Glass, this guy who had been left for dead after a bear attack. This is based on a true story.
Yeah.
He didn't have a son. Yeah. He wasn't going for vengeance on the son. He was pissed. You left me for dead. And he crawled and he let maggots like eat the infections out of his wounds. I ran upstairs to my wife and I was like, this would make such a good movie.
Yeah.
And then when I read that they were going to make it with the director of Birdman, Leo, and Tom Hardy, I was like, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. It's all perfect.
Yeah. This is one of those where the trailer came out and I was like, okay, I'm there. I'm there.
Absolutely.
I'm there.
Well, and isn't this another one with Donald Gleason?
Yeah.
He's like the captain.
Head of their unit, right?
Yeah, he
had a good year.
He did.
Oh, no kidding.
He did.
The thing about this movie that you can only experience in the cinema, this is why I still love going to the movie theater every once in a while, is the sound of this movie.
Oh, yeah.
It's immersive. I mean, I've never heard a more realistic soundscape. And the score is very sparse. But in that native raid at the beginning, you hear like the arrows going by.
The surround sound is fantastic.
Oh, man, it's good.
Now, Fury Road was the same way, although he was fucking with you on some of it. Because it was just weird noises sometimes to the left or the right or what have you. But you're right. The sound in this movie makes it great. It was a tremendous theatrical experience for me.
Inarritu won his second Best Director Oscar in a row.
That's amazing.
But again, the Academy split, this is becoming a normal thing for the Academy. Like, it used to be rare. Now it happens all the time. Best Picture was Spotlight.
Wow.
Which you said you didn't watch.
I haven't seen it yet.
Spotlight is it's about basically the non-coverage of priests and the kids and all that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, sexual assault perpetrated throughout the Catholic Church.
Priests and the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said it the nice way.
But I was about to say like the Bill Cosby way, but that's even worse.
Oh my God.
And priests and the kids.
Oh my God. I thought I was bad for almost making a bad Santa reference after you said the priest and the kids.
It's even worse. Okay.
Oh,
we are all going to hell.
Yes.
Well, yeah, since we are already doing it anyway, we might as well just say whatever we want. But Spotlight is it's very good because it's one of those movies. It's kind of like All the President's Men, where you take writers who are writing about a very difficult story to prove, and they keep running into this issue where nobody wants to talk.
Yep.
And so like it becomes that kind of story that, you know, Mark Ruffalo has his big moment in there where he's like, we've got to cover this now. We've got to do something about this now. And there's like, and Michael Keaton, who's like the head of this like Spotlight section in their newspaper, is like, no, we can't do it. We can't do that yet. You know, we got other things to write about. This stuff right here, nobody's talking about.
It's almost like Zero Dark 30 to me because it's about the dogged research to get to this and pouring through name after name after name after name until somebody talks.
Yeah.
And that just opens up. And you can see in Rachel McAdams, you could see like this combination of relief and excitement and just curiosity that finally, after, you know, the guy just says a few words at the door, she's like, that's the end. That's the end.
That's such a like bizarre scene. And I'm wondering how close that is to what really happened because it feels real. I
heard an NPR interview with the reporter that Rachel McAdams is playing, and she said that was very realistic of what happened.
Oh my God.
The guy would describe rape or molestation in completely different terms of self-justification. And, you know, to him, there's nothing wrong with it, you know? And yes, the movie has super heavy themes and everything, but it's so riveting. And it's not, it's not a depressing, it's not Sleepers or anything like that. It's a very interesting, riveting movie to see how these people interact. Ruffalo's terrific. Keaton is great. McAdams is great. Man, and John Slattery's terrific too in his role. This is an excellent, excellent movie.
And it comes from Tom McCarthy, who was famously before this on The Wire for the season where he writes about the fake homeless killer that's in that one season.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where the McNulty makes up the killer and this guy makes up a whole bunch of stuff about it. And they both, like in that season, like don't want to get caught, but they know each other. One or the other is full of shit or whatever. And yeah, I mean, it's very well done. I'm surprised it won Best Picture though.
Yeah.
Considering, you gave the director to Inarritu and you said, here's the Revenant. It's awesome. We're giving DiCaprio the Oscar. Yeah. It felt like it was going to be another sweep for him. And then I think they figured that Spotlight's a more important movie, so we have to give that the Best Picture. But good movie though.
Yeah, definitely.
Did you guys ever see Concussion?
I didn't.
With Will Smith? I liked it.
Yeah.
I just saw it like a month ago. It always seemed boring to me.
Yeah.
Albert Brooks is in this.
Oh, yeah?
That may pique your interest. Albert Brooks is the boss of the institution that Will Smith's character works for. And when he starts discovering evidence of this, basically concussion-led, what do they call it?
CTE.
Yeah, CTE. He has a lot of conversations with Albert Brooks about, what can we say? What can we publish? And he supports him all the way and everything. I liked it. I liked it a lot. And I think there's something, I don't know about the accent because it sounded authentic enough to me. I don't really know how people are supposed to sound wherever this guy originally came from. But his performance is moving. Like this is one of the most believes in the truth of this people. Like, he's basically Superman in a doctored body. Like, he just wants to get the truth out there, and he sells the performance. I think it's timely enough.
Definitely.
We're certainly seeing more and more concussion-related concerns in the NFL. The NFL is a shady bastard if they did half of what they do in this movie. But I'd check it out. I'm not going to call it an A, but I enjoyed it a lot more than I expected to.
I've got this movie in the collection somewhere, and eventually I'll watch it. The thing that I kept hearing before this movie came out, though, was that it was actually pulling a lot of punches based on what was going on.
Oh, wow.
That even if they're pulling punches and they still come out looking horrible, then what kind of really terrible stuff?
Yeah, it didn't feel like punches were being pulled. They basically trump up charges against Albert Brooks to get him fired in an effort to lean on Will Smith not to continue publishing and pursuing his work. They come off pretty bad.
Well, and you know, as far back as Any Given Sunday, the character James Woods plays in that is he's a guy basically hired to say these guys are okay, just put them back in.
Yeah,
you know, and there's that whole speech where it's like, who am I to take away their dream and all that, you know. But yeah, I'll have to check that out. Some other stuff. Straight Outta Compton.
Yes,
came out.
Yes,
and is this the first time in a long time a biopic has been this entertaining?
I guess. I mean, when you say biopic, and I know we've had our discussions about the definitions of it, since this is a band-centric movie or retelling of the story, it can go in so many different directions that I think it prevents it from being stale. Like if it were just focused on Eazy-E or Dr. Dre or something like that. It famously, of course, they overlooked the charges against Dr. Dre and his domestic assault case. So it's very, very enjoyable, though.
Is this? I thought what you were going to say earlier was, is this the first time a son has played his father? And almost convinced me he was his father.
Yeah, I nailed it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's probably one of the first, if not the first.
I think I remember looking it up, and he doesn't have like much of an acting resume prior to this.
This is O'Shea Jackson, Ice Cube's son.
Ice Cube's son, playing Ice Cube.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, he's great at it.
Maybe my favorite, besides Giamatti, my favorite actor in the whole movie.
But this is the type of thing that I think they, instead of just finding all their different little high points that they had or whatever, where it's like, here's when they made this song, and here's when they made that one, and here's when they argued a couple of times or whatever. There's a lot of like really entertaining tidbits in this, especially once Ice Cube breaks off as a solo artist. And, you know, NWA makes that diss track about him, and then he's like, he hears it in the very next scene. He's like, God damn, I'm glad you guys set it off, you know? And like then them listening to him come back in like the most vicious way possible. And they're all just listening to it going, oh my God. Oh, he got us. He got us. And there was the one guy's like, kind of funny though. And just there's the part where he has that interview with the one guy, and he, and he's like sitting there going, I'm just like you guys. I tell what's going on in the streets and everything. And he just finds out this is just a sandbag reporter or whatever. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, man, we got off on the wrong foot. What's your name again? And he's like, eat a dick, Bob, or whatever. There's a lot of like really just entertaining tidbits in this thing, and man, they're playing "Fuck the Police" in Detroit when like the cops told them they can't do it and all that. There's a lot of like great, just awesome, like this is what I want to see out of a biopic. And
that's true. And just the little illusions, like when they're in the middle of Dre's mansion and Snoop is over and they're just like, he's playing him for the first time, nothing but a G thing.
Yeah. And I guess, I mean, when I say that I don't like it on biopics where they're like, well, this is what happened, I mean, and technically that is what Straight Outta Compton is doing, but they're more entertaining about it and everything. It's just like, oh, you know, that you feel a little bit more involved with these type of things. One part though that I was like, you just cut that out or whatever, please, or whatever. He's like, when he has his break off with Suge Knight and he's like, what are you going to call this label? The aftermath. And it's like this big zoom in on his face, you know.
Oh, that's funny.
But man, this is a great movie.
Yeah, it is.
It's way better than Jersey Boys.
Yes.
That's another band biopic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They fight a lot.
Yeah.
You don't see the similarities?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it was just we didn't expect it.
All right. Well,
Did you see Jersey Boys?
yeah.
I didn't.
You don't have to.
Didn't you say who did that?
Clint Eastwood.
It was
Eastwood. Based on the musical my mother loved.
Mhm.
That should tell you all you need to know, really. You don't need to see that movie.
All right, what else, guys?
Well, another movie that dropped off for me after the beginning was so promising was Creed. And this is another movie in this year that harkens back to our childhoods, and it's essentially the Rocky story all over again with Rocky Balboa playing the Mick character, and with Michael B. Jordan playing the Rocky character.
Yeah.
And it's still fun. It's still enjoyable. I liked it, but it didn't deliver on its promise, I don't think.
I liked it maybe a little bit more than you did, but the problem again is we are again rehashing everything.
Yep.
Down to the point that Apollo Creed's son is in this.
Yeah.
And,
So you're saying Creed is too much New Hope?
Yeah, very much.
Well, I think I mentioned this before. There were 3 Part 7s in this year.
Oh, yeah.
It was Star Wars, and it was Creed, and I believe, what was the other one?
Ice Age?
Yeah, probably Ice Age. No, Furious 7 was the other
Oh,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, it probably was. No, Ice Age was at 14 by this point. It was way past that. But yeah, it's astonishing to me that there were 3 7s, and Creed was one of them. But I really like this. I mean, Michael B. Jordan is really good in this. I didn't like there was one little small part in there where Rocky tells us who won the fight at the end of the Rocky 3.
Yeah.
You know, where they had the freeze frame.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, no, don't tell us that. I'm like, okay, it makes total sense that he won, but come on.
Yeah.
I like thinking about it in my head more than you telling us what happened. But yeah, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that movie pretty good. Another movie that came out, The Hateful Eight.
Yeah.
The Hateful Eight.
Quentin Tarantino I think the story behind this was that he wrote a screenplay that got leaked, and then he had to change it.
He refused to do it. After it
Yeah.
came out, he refused to do it. Then, I don't know if it precipitated it, but they did some sort of like live read, and there was so much of a positive response to it that he said, I'm going to go ahead and do it. I don't know if that was the only reason that he did it, but I think this is up there in definitely the top third of my favorite Tarantino movies.
Wow.
I really, really like
I'm
this
off on
movie.
an island. You guys said something when we were talking about Django about this that made me think you guys like this more than me. This movie bores me to tears.
Oh, really? It is long.
I can't get into any of these characters. I can't. It feels like a table read. It feels like Tarantino pulling all of his favorite actors and putting them in an isolated situation and doing a play. And I don't know what it is. Maybe I need to give it another shot. But I was really surprised how boring I found it.
Yeah, and I don't know if I would put it in the upper third of. I mean, I'd have to like actually count them out and see if I would actually.
I don't know what the math is.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it does take a little bit too long to get to the actual inn or whatever the fuck it is. But I do like the idea of this. It's very much because of Kurt Russell's appearance, because of the snow and everything. I mentioned this in the way back one of our earlier episodes. How much of the Thing this feels like, because and I'm pretty sure Tarantino came out and said that was one of the inspirations, because it's another one of those like who is the villain amongst us type of things, and so I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed the Ennio Morricone score, which he won an Oscar for.
Yeah.
And I believe it was his first actual real Oscar too. It was like he had gotten a lot. I think he'd gotten a Lifetime Achievement Award or something like
crazy
that.
To get a
But it
Lifetime
was
achievement before an actual Oscar.
but I don't think he had ever won before. And but really like that, and I do like the sort of the Agatha Christie, Ten Little Indians type of way this goes about. But yeah, I can see what you're saying too. Is that it kind of can get boring and long, and but I do enjoy these stories that these guys tell.
I kind of that. That's what brings me in. And Samuel L. Jackson, I mentioned. I think this is one of his better performances. And Walton Goggins is really, really good in this.
Yes, he is. And I think he's gonna. I mean, is Walton Goggins ever going to be that actor we see in a lot of movies? And he's just. I mean.
Yeah, I mean, he may be the next Donald Gleason.
He might be, but I think everybody loved him in Justified, right? And then they love him in this, but I just don't see him like attached to a lot of things. And I guess it's kind of hard to get that guy. He's not like an ugly guy or anything. He's just he's a character actor, but I feel like they're having a hard time putting him in stuff, or he's choosy about what he goes into.
Yeah.
But he's great. I mean, he's just really great in this, and it's just he's always welcome every time I see him in any movie. So what else you guys got?
Let's talk about a movie called Joy.
Oh, okay.
I've never seen it.
Oh well, don't. Jennifer Lawrence nominated again, I believe. Because it's David O. Russell, and the two of them do something, it's gold, right? This is one of the most annoying movies that has Robert De Niro in it since The Intern.
Oh, wow.
How about that? How about that? This is basically telling the story over the course of a few decades of this woman who gets this idea for the self-rinsing mop. Right? The kind that you've all used where you go over the sink and you pull the thing down at the end and it squeegees itself out and you don't have to touch it or pull this hard lever or whatever. That's her story. She invents this mop and all of her struggles to get it on QVC.
Yay!
That's the story.
It's basically, did you ever see that old show with Billy Mays before he died? It was called Pitchman, I think, and it was basically him and the other guy that sells OxyClean.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
They would have people come to them with inventions, and they would pick some, make an infomercial. If it sold well enough, they would put it on the market or whatever. This is basically that in dramatic form. I know when I said this on Twitter, there was at least one person that wanted to slap me down because they love this movie. But this movie is just pure fucking boredom. It's like, do you want to go read a long Wikipedia article about the girl who invented the self-ringing mop?
No.
So why would you want to watch a movie about it?
See, you've convinced me. I'm going to watch it. Another great movie that came out in 2015. This was a great year. Like really I said, like every thing that just is good is like really good. And another movie I've seen many times, The Big Short, came out in 2015, talking about the financial disaster. And we're talking about, like people who basically saw a weakness in the system and exploited it. So all the characters in this movie, you could technically say are actually kind of bad guys in a way, but they found a way that, they found something to profit from because the banks were stupid.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I don't care that they're kind of villainous in that way because they exploited a weakness in the system. So many great people in this. Yeah. Steve Carell's great. Ryan Gosling may be in his best performance ever in this movie.
Yeah, I think it's his broadest.
Yeah.
He shows the most range, I think, here.
Yeah, and he's basically the narrator of the story, but it's very entertaining narrating. And I love how every time there's something complex that they have to discuss, they go to somebody like Margot Robbie in a bubble bath or Selena Gomez or, somebody like that. And they explain these really complex things that are going on. And Christian Bale is in this. He's great in it. I mean, there's just a million.
Brad Pitt is
Brad Pitt. There's just a million great people in it. And like I love this scene. Steve Carell is in a strip club and the stripper is like sitting there going like, I have 4 houses and all this other stuff. And he's like, how do you pay for all those things? And he's like, that's not, she doesn't even really know what's going on or anything. And because they're just trying to figure out if there is even a bubble to exploit. And like as soon as he has that stripper scene, you see him on the phone. There's a bubble.
Yeah.
And at the very end of it too, where he's talking about like, they're gonna just pay these guys off, and then what they're gonna do, they're gonna blame all these different people and everything, and it goes into the Gosling narration. But that's not what happened. And he's like, all the people who were involved with the scandal, they were sent to jail, and blah blah blah. It goes through all this happy. He's like, actually, no, none of that happened. But The Big Short is a movie that is a step above what Adam McKay had been doing.
Yeah, no kidding.
And he had been doing great comedies. But this is would have never guessed he had this in him.
No, it's brilliant. I don't know how you present it. Something as catastrophic and huge as that, but also complex.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something that you typically can mine comedy out of.
Yeah.
And, it's just really, really smart. I love it. I love it.
Oh, yeah. And maybe out of all the movies, in 2015, I've seen several of these things many times. Ex Machina, The Big Short, Mad Max. I've seen those multiple times. And I can't say that about a lot of movies that have happened in this decade.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all in this one year. There's like a ton that I've just seen multiple times.
Furious 7. I know you watch that
Oh,
shit.
my God. Religiously.
Yeah.
You can just put that on in the background.
One movie that I don't want to see again and that I know everybody loves is Room.
Oh, yeah.
And man, I mean, it's so uncomfortable to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great performance by Brie Larson.
Brie Larson.
And the kid, Jacob Tremblay, I think is his name. It's beautifully shot. It's tense as hell, but I'm good with it. I've seen it. I don't ever need to see that.
I haven't seen it. Is it just creepy or what's the deal?
It's basically watching this poor woman get systematically abused and shelter her kid from it.
Okay. It's not that you see a lot of that.
No,
happening.
not obviously.
It's implied, and there's a lot of some dialogue with the guy that is keeping her in this room. I've seen this movie twice. I think a lot of movies, once it gets past its main obstacle and then it's going through all the aftermath. The aftermath of this movie is just as long as the obstacle.
It's also arguably as devastating.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But the scene where the kid sees the sky is one of the scenes that every time I see it, I'm just like, oh my God, that's so sad.
That's the scene where you come up for air.
So happy.
Yeah, exactly.
So I said sad, but it's really happy.
Yeah.
Like it's just one of those like, oh my God, I feel what that kid is feeling right now. But yeah, I love Room. I know exactly it's just like any of those movies where do you really watch a movie like this for entertainment value is the question.
Yeah.
And they haven't invented a good enough word for this.
Yeah.
Like movies like Schindler's List and, stuff that talks about really tough things.
Things are important. I mean, and what, interestingly, I guess I just avoided them inadvertently, but I didn't get any spoilers for this movie. In fact, anybody that talked to me about this movie or anything I read said, you shouldn't know anything about this movie before you go into it. And I think that ultimately made it a better viewing experience and more tense.
Yeah.
But,
it was the same for
tough.
me. I didn't know. I knew nothing. I just knew that it was called Room and that was it. And you're just sitting there going, what's going on in this? I don't know what's going on. And then it becomes very clear.
Yeah. Not to be confused with The Room.
Yeah.
Very different movies.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm a little upset at the filmmakers for calling this movie Room.
Yeah.
Because when you have a movie that is so well known as The Room for being that bad, you have to always say, I love that movie Room, the one that was in 2015 and Brie Larson was in it and all. You have to describe, call it something else, man. Call it Chamber. I don't really care.
I still have Brooklyn on my list.
Okay. I still have yet to see Brooklyn.
Another chance to say her name if you'd like.
Well, Saoirse Ronan.
And also Donald Gleason is in this, right?
Yeah, and this is basically an immigrant who falls in love here and then goes back home to Ireland, I think, to visit her mother, who's intent on fixing her up with this other boy. And she genuinely feels things for both of these guys and ultimately has to decide to stay in her homeland and be with this guy or go back to America where this guy's waiting on her because she promised she'd come back weeks ago. It's really just a cute, quaint little, drama romance story, but it's mostly just a chance for her to show off. She's really good in this and it's subtle. It's not It's not really showy acting. And I was charmed. I was pleasantly surprised because the premise of it doesn't necessarily appeal to me, but it did to my wife, and so we watched it, and I liked it a lot.
Yeah, it's a beautiful movie too, especially the shots of Ireland. And, it's an interesting place to put because she had no future whatsoever in Ireland,
right?
And when she gets back, she's like, "Yeah, well, maybe I could see like something for me here." And I agree with you. It's a very charming movie.
Yeah, still need to see it, and it's another one in the collection. It's also been like on HBO recently, but every time it's on HBO, it's been like 20 minutes into it.
Yeah,
and I'm like, all right, okay, so I'm gonna rattle them down.
Rattle 'em.
Bridge of Spies was a Spielberg movie with the Coen brothers writing.
Yeah.
And that it primes you for something really great. This movie's good.
Yeah, just okay. I didn't hate it.
Yeah, I wish it was a little. I mean, I like how Hanks goes through this and like gets, he sort of negotiates all this stuff and everything's really cool. And Mark Rylance won the Oscar.
Who did he beat? Because there was a clear favorite. Maybe it was
Tom Hardy.
Maybe it was
Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, it was Tom Hardy.
Oh, no, it was Stallone, I think.
No, it was Stallone, I byleve. Like, I think a lot of people wanted to finally give him one, and it was Rylance. And I remember watching it, and I was like, Rylance is so good in this. Why are we giving Stallone like what amounts to a lifetime achievement award? I've gotten a lot of mixed reviews on Bridge of Spies. I mean, I ended up liking it overall. There's some people who just outright don't like it. Another one, I never saw The Danish Girl. Did you see The Danish Girl? Steve,
I saw The Danish Girl.
Did you?
Yeah, it's at the cross-dressing
Eddie Redmayne.
Transgender one. Yeah, I saw it. I liked it a lot.
And
Eddie Redmayne's really walkable.
Alicia Vikander was in it too.
Yeah, and she's really good in it. It's a period piece. So it's in a lot of ways. Okay, I'm about to say something that might make me sound really terrible. It was the same experience and feeling I had watching Carol.
Okay,
which also kind of came out this year, I think. This is more about lesbians than any kind of transgender thing, but the gist of the movie is trying to face society with this secret that if you share, you will be punished for, basically. But Eddie Redmayne's great, and I think he's one of our best young actors.
Yeah, I think so too.
I'm looking forward to everything he does.
Another like really good movie, and now that I've seen it more over the past month or so, Steve Jobs.
Oh yeah,
is another movie I've seen multiple times.
I think it suffers from, sad to say, but oversaturation of jobs.
Yeah.
In culture, we had the Ashton Kutcher movie version that came out before this. Several years back, there was one with Noah Wyle in it on TV. And he's just ubiquitous. He's been everywhere. We know everything there is to know about this man. But Fassbender is so good in this.
He's amazing in it.
That it's definitely worth watching. It's not something that I would tell you to rush out and see, but I think it was really good.
Yeah, I really, really, really like this, and more it comes on, and I'm sitting there watching it. I just get mesmerized by it. More Aaron Sorkin. This is Danny Boyle doing this movie, but Jeff Daniels again, great in this. Seth Rogen in a completely different role.
Good.
You have Michael Stuhlbarg in this. Really good stuff. Kate Winslet is another like kind of role we've never seen her in before. Really enjoy that movie. Trumbo, which has Bryan Cranston in it. He plays blacklisted writer Trumbo, who ends up writing Spartacus is one of the big ones or whatever. But it's during the the McCarthyism and everything, and he gets named in this whole thing, and he continues to write, but not under his own name. And he actually, I think he wins like 2 or 3 Oscars or something like that, but he can never accept the award. But Cranston really good in that and everything. It's an enjoyable movie.
You remember that Seinfeld episode where Elaine's dating a communist and she gets him blacklisted from Hop Sings?
Yeah.
The guy goes, she named names.
Yes. All right, so I'm gonna go through all these like big movies, and I'm gonna skip a few. 50 Shades of Grey came out. That's terrible. Now,
50 Shades of Grey had a great trailer though, because it had that slowed down version of Beyonce's Crazy in Love.
Oh yeah.
And I had actually read the book just because I was curious, and it is the worst piece of fiction. I've read dime store like romance novels when I was bored at my grandmother's house when I was a kid. This is the worst piece of fiction I've ever read in my entire life.
Well, and it's based on Twilight. It's Twilight fan fiction. But you know what? Out of 50 Shades of Grey, I do like Dakota Johnson. I think she's an appealing actress. I just wish she was in stuff that's not this.
Indeed.
And I saw her in that How to Be Single movie.
I saw that,
and she's okay in that too. It's like I feel like you have something more in you that I wish they would get you in a better movie.
She's going to be naked and spanked on film for the next 3 or 4 movies.
Yeah.
That's going to be...
Yeah.
I'm not judging anybody who gets naked on film, by the way. I'm just saying.
Oh, I am. No, I'm just kidding.
Or spanked.
And then we had a couple of comedies that a lot of people like. Spy and Trainwreck came out. Spy is good. I liked Spy. It was an entertaining movie. Melissa McCarthy. The thing about Melissa McCarthy in this one, it's very easy to go back to her, like, be a doofus and all that other type of stuff. She's not a doofus in this movie, and I really enjoyed that. And I really enjoyed Rose Byrne in it and Jude Law. I think the movie, once there's not anything funny, they resort to F-bombs like 50 times in a scene, and you're just like, okay, you didn't know what to say here, did you?
Yeah.
You're just saying a bunch of F-bombs.
Jason Statham's pretty funny. He's the only time I've ever seen him funny.
Yeah.
This movie.
And then Trainwreck, which is the Amy Schumer movie.
What do you think about that?
Yeah,
right.
Judd Apatow is always the worst enemy of the movie. His movies are just too long. He's and it's an indulgence on his part. He thinks everything he shoots, I think, is funny, or maybe he shoots way more than maybe he shoots like way more, but a lot of times scenes go a little bit too long, and a lot of times there's scenes that don't need to be there. And it's like, well, it feels like I enjoyed filming that, so I should put it in. And then when it ends up in the movie, it's like, it doesn't. I always go back to the scene in Funny People where Eminem shows up and the guy's like, he's like, you fucked up. And I'm like, that's the type of scene I'm talking about. It's not funny. It's just, you got Eminem, you got to put him in, and you left it in.
I do think LeBron and the wrestler guy are both.
John Cena.
They come out of this looking the best of anyone.
Yeah,
they
he's
both
great.
had comic chops I was not expecting.
Yeah,
John Cena, man, in that movie theater where he's just like, he gets in the argument with that guy. And he's like, I will injure you. I will penetrate you.
Yeah. And Amy Schumer, I like Amy Schumer, but it just feels like it's like this is sort of her stand-up shtick or whatever, and let's make a character around that. And they didn't give much for Bill Hader, who's a great comic actor.
It's the least funny I've ever seen him.
Yeah, he is like a go-to comic actor, and he's sort of the boring schlub in this. So that's where there's some. It's just one of those where there's some funny moments in it here and there, and it's average. It's good. Tomorrowland, which was a big disappointment from Brad Bird,
made me sad. I wanted to love.
Well, remember, we were way back when we were hoping Brad Bird would do a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
And then there was some sort of talk that maybe he might do a Star Wars movie. He's like, no, guys, I got this original movie that I'm really interested.
Super secret.
Yeah, I'm really excited about. And it's not. It's not good.
No,
and I remember the trailer was like, I really want to see that movie.
Yep.
And the movie's just not. It's not good.
Yeah, it's not there. Sorry, everybody.
Yeah. Then there's Terminator Genesis.
Oh, burn it with fire.
So bad.
Burn it.
There's a lot of bad. Taken 3 was bad. Sisters, which I've talked before, like Tina Fey and Amy Poehler. I want to see them in a movie together. I just want to see one where Tina Fey actually writes the screenplay.
Yeah.
And Sisters is one of those movies that it's right on that cusp. If Tina Fey had done it, it would have been better. You mentioned The Intern.
Have you seen it?
Yeah.
It's so
It's
God.
funny. I mean, it's funny that you mentioned The Intern.
It's not funny.
It just, I don't know. It's just I don't know. It's just a movie that they make to get a paycheck and they move on. Anne Hathaway. I mean, you got some great people in this.
Yeah. Hey, what if we got an intern and he was really old?
Yeah.
That's a genius.
Yeah. We'll put De Niro in. He's doing all those grandpa roles these days.
Yeah.
Okay, another disappointment was Black Mass, a movie that Johnny Depp is good in, but man, I hate the movie so much.
I didn't like it at all.
Yeah,
and it's way more violent than, I mean, I know what it's about, but it's way more violent than it needs to be.
Yeah.
This is basically the Nicholson character in The Departed is
Whitey Bulger.
based on Whitey Bulger.
Yeah. The really terrible Fantastic Four movie came out. Focus, which had Will Smith and Margot Robbie. Did you guys see that?
I saw it.
Did you? Was it good?
Yeah, it's okay. It's not as good as it thinks it is. It thinks it's like a really good David Mamet quality heist, and it's not. But it's got a nice, cool vibe, a little bit of an Ocean's feel here and there.
Oh, yeah?
Basically a con movie.
Cool. A really big one that I haven't seen, and I'm really sad to say that I haven't, is Sicario.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you know what? I'm on the same boat.
Me too. This is a movie that...
Oh, we're going to get roasted.
Everyone
loves this movie. This guy made Arrival.
Yeah.
And we all loved that, and none of us have seen this. Oh, we're so dead.
Well, here's the thing. A movie like this comes out, it's out for like 3 weeks. It didn't hit nearly as much as they wanted it to. And I remember the build up to it. I'm like, I got to see that. And then it was out for 3 weeks. And then by the time it's like, time to see the Sicario, and just out of the theaters. And then it comes out on video and you're like, when am I going to have time to put that on? And it's not just like regularly on HBO or anything. I can't watch it there either. So, sorry, everybody. None of us have seen Sicario. We promise we will in the future.
And we'll talk about it after we all have.
I do know that Benicio del Toro is a badass in this movie. And that's how I like my Benicio del Toro. I don't like my Benicio del Toro doing Heineken commercials.
You don't like him in Excess Baggage?
I kind of like him in Excess Baggage.
There's a great moment in Excess Baggage, by the way, with Benicio del Toro, where they're in that diner or whatever, and Alicia Silverstone steals that guy's money, and Benicio del Toro is just sitting there, and he's like, she stole your money.
Oh, that's funny.
Another movie called The Gift came out in 2015. Joel Edgerton directed and starred in it, and it's great.
It is awesome.
It's a great movie.
Yes.
Jason Bateman and Rebecca Hall, and it's one of these
I saw this.
Yeah, and it's like it starts off
Joel
like
Edgerton stars in it.
Joel. Yeah, I mentioned that.
You did. I just heard the directing part.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize I'd seen this.
No, it's really good. It starts off. You're like, okay, this is your typical home invasion, creepy, fatal attraction type movie or whatever, but it's got some surprises for you.
It's got huge surprises.
Yeah. And by the end of it, you have some questions.
You have a little bit of a Kaiser Soze type of situation happening.
Yeah, man. I really enjoyed it. I think it might have been the surprise of 2015 for me. The Night Before came out, a decent comedy with Seth Rogen and everything. Krampus, which I didn't like at all. And then there is...
Can I mention 2 movies that are kind of related?
Go for it.
I actually could put the Amy Winehouse documentary in here too. But 2 movies that kind of seem similar to me. One was the Kurt Cobain documentary Montage of Heck. That was really strangely done. If you're a Nirvana fan or a Kurt Cobain fan, it's a deep dive. They interview his mom and his stepmom and his dad and everything. And there's some parts that are animated and everything. It's really interesting. But the one that, because it's almost like he was paralyzed by his success, that was kind of the narrative on Kurt Cobain. And then there was a movie called The End of the Tour that came out this year, which is about David Foster Wallace. And 5 days that this Rolling Stone interviewer came out and interviewed David Foster Wallace. You know who I'm talking about, the writer?
Yeah.
So,
I haven't seen the movie.
And Jason Segel plays David Foster Wallace, and Jesse Eisenberg plays David Lipsky.
I read that they're great in this.
It is really amazing. It's a very good... I love David Foster Wallace. I haven't read Infinite Jest, actually, but his other stuff is really, really engaging. And he's one of the greatest modern American authors out there. And Jason Segel and Jesse Eisenberg have their shtick. Like, one's the lovable schlub, and then one is the sarcastic Jesse Eisenberg character. And they disappear into these roles. Like, it's really cool to see them. You don't think that you're watching Jesse Eisenberg and Jason Segel. So it's definitely worth a watch.
Yeah, I think I remember reading about that and wanting to see it.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
Well, and you mentioned something like that. A movie called True Story came out with James Franco and Jonah Hill.
Saw that too.
Yeah, and Jonah Hill has basically been handpicked by this guy who's accused of killing his wife and kids to tell his story. And of course, we don't know what's true about the story and everything. Basically, Franco is telling this guy he's innocent, and he's telling his story and everything. And it's just things start not adding up throughout. But it's Jonah Hill and James Franco not being funny.
At all.
It's a dramatic story, and it's I guess it's average. It's not a great movie by any means, but it's interesting to see those actors being that way.
Well, and I would go so far as to not recommend it, but during the course of his interviews, Jonah Hill gets a book deal for like $500,000.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end, Franco's just been fucking with him.
Oh,
It was
wow.
all a lie.
Huh.
And I'm hard-pressed to feel sorry for either of these characters, because at the very start of it, Jonah Hill is already a disgraced writer who got in trouble for making something up. And this is his shot back at redemption, and it ends up being all made up because he didn't fact check anything. Anyway.
So It Follows actually came out in this year, and I really enjoyed the premise of this movie. And we talked a little bit about this when Modern Horrors came in here. I still think that it could have been way better as far as, things in the background, people in the background could be anybody.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, it's always these slimy looking, naked characters that are in the background. If it could have been the cheerleader in the background, or if it could have been somebody else, that movie would have been way more effective. As is, what we've got is a movie that gets kind of scary. I mean, you get this basically what amounts to a sexually transmitted disease.
Yeah.
It kills you.
And it's going to keep following you until you pass it along. So that premise is extremely original and I think well executed, except for the fact that it's a bunch of naked people and people on roofs and stuff like that. But really, really well done.
Creepy vibe. I like the vibe and the look of that movie.
Yeah.
Did you guys like Spectre at all?
Is that the James Bond
Spectre.
one?
Missed that one.
Not much.
I didn't like this at all.
Not much. You know why? I'm going to tell you why, and this is maybe different than anybody. Like, I didn't dislike the movie on its merit. I disliked the movie because they did that Cumberbatch bullshit with casting Christoph Waltz and denying he was Blofeld for a year and a half.
Yeah.
And it was so obvious that's what he was going to be. I don't think the movie holds up on its merit anyway, but it really pissed me off.
Yeah.
Stop doing that.
Yeah.
Just like the Jon Snow's. Never mind. I should shut up.
Well, and just I feel like a fairly sloppy way of connecting all the other Bonds to Spectre and everything, and they do this thing where it's like they've operated they've got their fingers in everything, and they've operated in secret for years. Like, no, bullshit.
Yeah.
Bullshit. Immediately bullshit. Just sorry, you just can't do that. But I mean, it wasn't a fun movie at all. But yeah, didn't like it. We're also talking about big movies that, like Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2 that finally ended the
Put
series.
that out of the misery finally.
Another movie I didn't see that I got a little bit of buzz, and we talked about Tom Hardy earlier, was Legend, talking about the Cray brothers.
Yeah, he plays both roles.
And I never saw this.
I saw the first half, and something pulled me away, and I was not compelled enough to go back, I guess.
And
I like Tom Hardy, but
yeah, it's another one that's on my list. Pitch Perfect 2 came out.
Ooh, that was really bad.
That was paint by numbers.
It was Haley Steinfeld was in that.
It's all her fault.
Yep.
It is.
It really is.
She ruined the series.
I really like blaming her for everything. That's all the ills in the world. Okay, I think we're ready to vote.
All right. Today's order is Barrett, Jeremy, and Chris.
Woo!
I should probably make my pick.
You haven't made it yet?
Man, it is up between a couple of different things. And I'm going to go with The Revenant. The Revenant was just... I was in awe of this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, just from start to finish, it was similar to Gravity, where like you exhaled at the end of it and you didn't realize you'd been gripping the armrest the whole time. And it was alternately terrifying and thrilling and beautiful. And I've never seen another movie like it. And yeah, that's definitely my pick.
That's a good pick.
Yeah.
My heart wants to vote The Martian, but my brain is making me vote Ex Machina.
Gotcha.
And for similar reasons, premise-wise, I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. This is as high concept as high concept gets, and those movies rarely play out to be as good as the concept that hooked you. This one, I think, is even better than the concept that hooked me. And just everything makes perfect sense to me that happens at the end of this movie, even while it's shocking the crap out of me. Super, super inventive. That's my pick.
We're going one round. Ex Machina is my pick.
All right.
Sorry, Leo.
Ex Machina, I think I saw that early in 2015, and there were a lot of movies that tried to knock it off, from Mad Max Fury Road to The Big Short to The Revenant, all these movies that came out that I've seen so many times. But every time I just ended up saying that's the better movie. But every time. It's such a good movie, man.
I think it's funny that the movie that wins this is a recurrent Cinemasins.
Yeah.
It's just ingrained in the consciousness, I guess.
Yeah.
That's not why I voted for this movie,
right,
for the record.
No, man. This is another movie that I've never seen anything like it before.
Yeah.
I mean, just the way, you're right. All the pieces fit in perfectly in this movie. It's awesome.
Yeah.
We have a winner.
My second pick.
Hot dog.
What
we
was
have
going to
a
be your
wiener.
second?
Huh?
What was going to be your second one?
I'd have to look. Revenant, I think.
I would have put Mad Max as my second.
Okay.
I did have The Martian on my list. It just wasn't in the top 3.
We have recently been sponsored by Nature Box, and we're going to do some more Nature Box today.
That's never a bad thing.
It's never a bad thing. I love the shit that they send us, man.
I think that let's keep that in. I hope so, because it's definitely our style.
I'll say it another way. I love the stuff that they give us, man. Yeah, it's really good stuff. And you know what? I'm a candy person, so I always have these watermelon mini star things. These are really good. So those are good. I try to eat those instead of going and getting like a big huge like.
It happened to me today. As I was telling Chris on the way here, I was starving. I hadn't eaten all day. Went into one fast food restaurant, nobody at the counter. Went to another fast food restaurant, nobody at the counter. So I was totally cock-blocked from eating until I get here, and I just take those dark chocolate almonds and just start guzzling them. And I feel so much better. I feel good. I'm snacking healthy. I mean, you're probably not supposed to eat the whole bag, but I thought it was awesome.
I got to say something inappropriate too now.
Yeah, well, I mean, apparently we can also say cock block in this ad.
So here I will go. I fucking love that turkey jerky.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Now, I have been a turkey jerky snob my entire life, and by that I mean I don't eat it because I like beef jerky, and turkeys aren't for jerkying. Turkey, you're just trying to make me healthier, right? Here I get the same or better flavor, and I'm getting the healthier.
You don't get that stringiness either.
To the point where after the last time we did one of these and we finished off that bag of turkey jerky, I went out and tried to buy some turkey jerky and said, well, maybe turkey jerky's not as bad as I thought. Nope, it's terrible.
Yeah.
It's just
it's
the
not as
Nature Box
good
version.
At least the 2 brands I've tried so far, not holding a candle.
Even the stuff that I'm like, I don't know if I want to have this or not. Like, there's like a variety of stuff that's in this box that they sent us or whatever. I try it and I'm like, man, that's really good. Yeah. You're like, I don't know about that. And you eat it and it's like, oh, this is really tasty.
Yeah.
Well, and it's helpful if you don't like something. Not only do you can make sure you never get it again, but I think they're still claiming they'll replace it for free.
Yep.
So there's really no risk there in terms of worry that you might not like it. It's a subscription-based service, right? They have a catalog of a couple of hundred snacks that is always rotating in new ones. And I think they even take a lot of suggestions from their members on what they're liking, what they'd like to see, and so on and so forth. So we're really happy with it. And everybody snacks, right?
Healthy stuff, too. Free of all those preservatives, artificial nonsense, all that stuff.
Yeah. I recommend it. It's one of those cliches, right? I recommend it not because we've been told to say good things about them, but we've actually enjoyed this product.
Yeah.
I don't think we would actually do this if we didn't like it.
No, we genuinely love it. And we have for years. They sponsored videos over the past 3 years several times.
Yeah.
And so it's good stuff. I encourage you to check it out. You can do that at naturebox.com/SinCast.
Yeah, and you get 50% off your first order.
50% off.
Yeah. For a lot of you who don't know math, that's half. If it was like $12, it would be $6.
Listen, I know a lot of you are struggling with the math right now.
Yeah, exactly. You're still working your way through it. But yeah, that's a great deal. All right, so we ready for some questions?
Question. I got something to say. I want the truth.
I am listening.
Yeah, let's do
Let's
it.
Q some A and A some Q.
Okay.
I ate some Q last night. Ooh, baby.
Don't ever tell me what that means because I like what I just mentally pictured.
That's when you give a 15 when someone's 11ing your 9.
Oh, God.
Oh, shit. I lost my place now.
It's the voice that sells it. Right in the crusty voice. Oh, Jesus.
All right. My question is, what is the most inspirational speech in a movie you've ever seen? And if we want to, what is the least? I have a good least one that may be controversial. My least inspirational speech is that Tony D'Amato speech from Any Given Sunday. This game is a game of inches.
Oh.
That it's not the fact that he does it poorly. It's the fact that it's interspersed with all those weird flashbacks. And
That whole movie is.
I know, exactly. It just it doesn't resonate to me. Because it doesn't get you fired up. I'll tell you what does get me fired up is Gene Hackman's halftime speech in Hoosiers.
Yeah.
And this is one of, I guess, the first in popular consciousness and best uses of the slow clap.
Yeah.
Because what he says isn't necessarily all that inspirational. He's like, get back to the fundamentals. Let's get back, play like we want to. And if you do that, we're going to be winners no matter what.
I don't care what it says on the scoreboard.
Exactly. Like, that's nice. But then you have them slowly buying into it with the slow clap, and then it turns into a roar. And then you see Hackman, more animated than he's been the whole movie, just like slapping players on the ass and everything as he's going through, like, hugging the coach. And everything. I love that stuff.
Oh, yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, for bad, I didn't prep one, but what immediately came to mind was Pacific Rim when Idris Elba gives that Morpheus-like speech that motivates me not at all. And I love how we're sticking with sports for the most part because I have two that I love. I don't know that they're the best, but the Kurt Russell speech at the end of Miracle, where he's motivating the U.S. team, telling them that even if only for one moment, they can be as good as any other team. This is your time. Now go out there and take it. I just love the delivery there. And then I just watching the Game of Thrones. This is kind of cheating because it's TV. But the Christmas week when Game of Thrones was running a season marathon every day for like 6 days, which was heaven. At the end of season 2, the Battle of Blackwater, when Tyrion gives this speech to these men who they call him imp. Nobody respects him. Nobody likes him. And he basically ends the speech by saying, those are brave men outside there. Now let's go kill them. And it's really fun. I love it.
I didn't really have a bad one either. It's funny because I mentioned that I do like the Bill Pullman Independence Day rousing speech. On the converse of that, it's his speech in Independence Day 2, which is horrible.
That he delivers to an empty hangar.
Yeah, that people who are like playing chess in the background suddenly look up and the president is talking. Remember that inspirational speech he said in the first one? Let's listen to that. He always has great stuff to say. That was very uninspirational. But I'm going to go with the Kenneth Branagh's "To Be or Not to Be" thing in 1996 Hamlet. Which is basically just one shot, and it just keeps on like just kind of like zooming back at the very end of it. It's like, from now on, all my thoughts be bloody, and all that. It's like, fuck yeah, man, you're about to do some shit. I want to go in there with you, man.
That's a great pick. I love that scene.
Oh, it's so good. I mean, that Hamlet, I don't know, it didn't.
It's because it was long.
It was a 4-hour-long movie. But man, it's so beautiful and so well done, and I guess a lot of it came out, it was a 70 millimeter print and all that, and theaters really didn't have a chance to show it, give it its justice and everything. But man, good God, I could watch that anytime. It's good stuff.
I love it because of Derek Jacobi.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we just went full circle back to the very first podcast ever.
We did.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. We got a Kenneth Branagh reference in
We
today.
did.
All right, next question. What do you guys think is the smartest line said in a movie? I love this question.
Yeah, I do too.
It's a great one. I actually have changed my answer.
Ooh, let's hear it.
I originally was going to go with the Oracle in The Matrix when she says, what really would bake your noodle later is, would you still have knocked it over if I hadn't said anything, talking about the vase that Neo knocks over. But I've decided to change that. I'm going to go with Men in Black.
Mm-hmm.
In the beginning when Will Smith says, why don't you just tell the truth? People will understand. And Kay gives this whole speech, but it starts out with,
I know where you're
a
about to
person
go.
is smart, but people are dumb. They're panicky, and he goes on and on. And I can't tell you how many times talking about real world issues with my wife or friends, I have brought up that quote, that a person can be smart, but a group of people is a panicky mess, and you don't want any part of that.
That's awesome.
And I think that's a surprisingly insightful thing for a comedy about wacky aliens attacking Earth. So that's my choice.
I totally agree with that. That's a great line. I'm going to go with Dead Poet Society here, which is it's full of like smart lines and everything, but I do like the whole scene where he's got the three guys walking and everything, and everybody's watching them walk. And then he starts talking about like, you notice like they started walking at the same pace and everything, they're walking together and everything. And he says, and then Robin Williams is talking to everybody else. He's like, now those of you, I see that look in your eyes, like I would have walked differently. But ask yourselves why you were clapping.
Yeah.
And they all look, oh yeah, I was clapping.
I like that. I love those subversive lines that he gets in there. That's Robin Williams at his peak.
Yeah.
The one that immediately came to mind is, one of the smartest characters I've ever seen on screen is Mark Zuckerberg in The Social Network. And that line when he's in the deposition room and the lawyer's just like, do I have your attention, Mr. Zuckerberg? Yeah. And he's just being such a smarmy asshole. He knows, he's got all this money. He's well represented and everything. And Zuckerberg just undercuts him. He's like, no, you don't have, I can't perjure myself, so you don't have my attention. You have the minimal amount of my attention. The rest of it is back with Facebook, which none of you guys can ever do. And then he eyeballs him. He's like, did I adequately answer your condescending question?
Yeah. There's a lot of great lines in that movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a great
man.
one.
Yeah, that's a Sorkinism.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Here's another good one. Are there any actors or actresses that you saw in their debut or near debut and pegged them as superstars? The example that they give in Hackers in 1995, and they knew that Angelina Jolie was going to be a star.
She was a different looking person. Yeah. Like even with the really short hair and everything, you're like, who is this? This is someone who's amazing. I mean, I totally see what he's saying on that. It's funny because last week we talked about Jude Law in a couple of or a couple weeks ago we talked about Jude Law, and his performance in Gattaca. Now this is not his debut, but it's certainly his biggest role to date at that point, and he is fantastic in Gattaca. He's somebody that I remember watching going, I've never seen this guy before, but I want to instantly see him in everything. And, of course, that's what happened. He was in everything after that, and he's great. And I would also say Edward Norton in Primal Fear.
Oh, yeah, man.
Good call.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the last bit of that, you just knew that was a star-making performance. Yeah.
I have a couple of hilarious answers. One that makes me look good and one that makes me look not so good.
Okay.
The first time I ever saw Holes, I had no idea that Shia LaBeouf had any kind of Nickelodeon television background. That obviously, I don't sit around watching Nickelodeon. I don't have any kids. And I watched that movie going, that guy is magnetic as hell. Yeah. He's going to have a great career. And up until Transformers, I was feeling pretty good about that pick. And today, he's a huge star, but...
Yeah.
And then my other one was, do you remember that sitcom back in the day, Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place?
Yeah, I used to watch it.
One Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
Who, at the time, my friend was like, he's too Jim Carrey. It's never gonna last. And he was doing a lot of Jim Carrey kind of yeah, kind of like facial expression based stuff early on. But I felt like there was something extra there with him. And today we know there is.
He finally got there. I mean, he went through a lot of shit to get to his Deadpool status.
Van Wilder.
Wilder was fun, but of course, Green Lantern was the big one.
Yeah. He was always on the outskirts of A-listdom, I think, until the last few years, and now I think he'll never leave it.
Yeah.
There's another person on Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place that I wish had become bigger than she did was Suzanne Cryer, who is also on Silicon Valley as the very affectless boss that's in the current season.
Yeah.
And very weird about things and very proper. And everything has got to be like this and robotic. And she's great. And she was great on that show, too. And I didn't really see much in between that. She's a terrific actress.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's nothing to do with who was going to be good.
I had one that was an epic fail, not on the level of Shia LaBeouf, but I thought after Scream that Skeet Ulrich was going to be
oh, really?
like a superstar.
Well, I could see you thinking that because he had a Johnny Deppish kind of look and intensity.
I think there's more to Skeet than we've seen.
What is he doing these days?
Well, he did that short-lived show for CBS called Jericho, which I loved.
That was like 9 years ago.
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing now, but I wish I would like to see a return of the Skeet.
So wait, you knew he would be big. But here we
thought
are.
He was going to be big.
Here we are. He's not big.
Exactly. No, that's my fail. The other one, so the one that actually did work out was in 1996, I think, was a movie called Fear. And it was Reese Witherspoon and Marky Mark.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, like, I think he had done something in between.
Basketball Diaries and all that.
Yeah. But this is where, like, people started really taking him seriously.
Yeah.
Because he was a genuine, like, threat in this movie. That whole scene where he's out there, in the hallway starting to pound his chest repeatedly so that he gets a bunch of bruises and all that stuff. We were like, wow, that's pretty impressive. And now he's certainly got his misfires like The Happening and stuff like that. But, he's an incredibly well-respected actor and has a good range, too.
Yeah, he was in Boogie Nights the following year.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So, and the other one is, an actual one, is I pegged Jack Black when he was in High Fidelity. Now, he had been with Tenacious D before. He had been on the Ben Stiller show and all that stuff. But in High Fidelity, it's really where he was his breakout. And now, he was in King Kong and he was in all that stuff. And School of Rock, and really is taken seriously now. And you could see that flash, even though he's super manic in High Fidelity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I knew Jack Black was going to be great from The Jackal.
He was terrific in that.
Yes, he was.
Oh, here's a fun one. What are your favorite British films and TV or TV? And I like this question so much that I kept the favorite with the U spelling when I sent this off to you guys.
This is our favorite with a U type of stuff here.
Correct.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of easy things that we could name that we'll get to. I don't want to overlook the Edgar Wright stuff, though.
Oh, yeah.
Because that is some of the more recent brilliant stuff like Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, and to a lesser extent, The World's End. But that is incredibly British.
Oh, yeah.
But also incredibly awesome. So that's currently my favorite. What are some other ones?
All right. So you're going to see a lot of John Cleese getting woven into this because I don't know. I guess that was my jam, John Cleese type stuff. So I'll mention, first off, before I get to the John Cleese stuff, Black Mirror is probably my favorite, series coming out of Great Britain right now.
Yeah.
It's just fun. It's Twilight Zone with a modern, I don't know, more fucked up twist.
Yeah. Technologically based.
Yeah.
Fucked up.
Right. And I do enjoy Sherlock. I think that's a fun series and everything. And so now getting into my John Cleese, I haven't seen all of Faulty Towers, but and there's not many, but I've seen enough to know that I love Faulty Towers. And then as the movies go, Monty Python and the Holy Grail and A Fish Called Wanda. Those are just great. And then also Sense and Sensibility. I really like Sense and Sensibility.
He's brilliant. Like, he's literally brilliant. Like, he's comedically brilliant, but he's just a smart dude.
Yeah.
And you can make an argument. Who did I say that was this generation's Chevy Chase? It was Jason Sudeikis.
Yeah.
You can make an argument that he was the prototype for Chevy Chase, like tall, good looking, but razor sharp wit. You know? And British.
And apparently a big asshole if he's the predecessor to Chevy Chase. Everybody hates Chevy Chase.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to go with my heart answer, and that's Aardman and anything they made. They hooked me with Wallace and Gromit. All the way through Shaun the Sheep and the Were-Rabbit and the pirate movie they've made. I just think Chicken Run, there's so much charm and Britishness, especially the Wallace and Gromit stuff is so British. And I just love it. It's just so freaking charming. And that's my happy place.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Cheese, Gromit.
It's the wrong trousers.
We overlap quotes, Dan.
Here's a fun one. I rewatched Looper after you guys talked about it in the 2012 discussion, and it got me thinking, what pair of actors or actresses would you pick to play older and younger versions of the same character?
This is a really fun question.
Yeah.
We need more questions like this.
Yeah.
I'll go first, I guess, since I'm already talking. And the one I like the most is Logan Lerman, Percy Jackson, and Kyle Chandler.
Oh, yeah.
The coach from Friday Night Lights, the TV show. Because I think they look enough alike that they could pass for a younger version of Kyle Chandler. But I also think their acting ability falls into some of the same. Like, they're both great, but I think they're similar type of actors. So
yeah, it's a good one.
That is a good one.
All right, I've got two. One, Joey King, who's in The Conjuring and the Fargo TV series and all that. And Angelina Jolie.
That's a good one.
I think they look similar enough that would work. But the best one I think that I have is for the guys, Josh Hutcherson and Colin Firth.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
They both have the square jaw and just look the same and act the same to me.
Yeah.
And every time I see Josh Hutcherson, I think that's Colin Firth's kid right there.
That's a pretty good call.
Yeah, I'm just picturing it as he said that. That's an excellent one.
Yeah.
I think, and it's interesting because they both played Queen Elizabeth, I think. Helen Mirren and Cate Blanchett remind me very much of each other. They've got like this kind of regal type of presentation. They're both tremendous actresses. They have the same look. They're both gorgeous no matter what age they are. So I think that would be good for actresses.
I don't know if Helen Mirren played Queen Elizabeth. She played the current Queen Elizabeth, like from now. She played in The Queen. She may have played a Queen Elizabeth in another
it was
movie.
Another Elizabeth.
Yeah. You're talking about the long time ago Queen Elizabeth,
the one with all the makeup. And Queen Amidala
with the things stuff. And the stuff. Judi Dench played. Judi Dench did play the older Queen Elizabeth in Shakespeare in Love.
Yeah.
And then Cate Blanchett played the younger version in the same year. But Helen Mirren, I don't know if she played that particular Queen Elizabeth.
They both played queens.
And
the other thing, I'm actually going to change it up at the last bit because I think Zac Efron and Robert Redford could play different versions of each other because they both have that. Efron is now grown into like this kind of almost rugged. Of course, he's all jacked up on whatever on working out. They've both got kind of that rugged, like tousled hair type of image, and I think that could work. Now he also looks exactly like Rob Lowe, so there could be like a threesome there.
Those
good looking dudes,
the bedroom eyes, man. They got both of them. Got it. All right. That's going to wrap it up for this week. Keep going to SoundCloud and giving us your thoughts.
Yeah, for the last two episodes, we've been getting like hundreds of comments. We haven't broken our record yet. Let's break the record on this episode. Go
record.
on there, comment, even if you just say hi. Even if you just say
now
like,
there's going to be 50 people just saying hi.
that's perfectly fine. We'll have a conversation.
Or
we'll start
you
it up.
haven't seen Sicario yet? That's the
Bring your
worst
Sicario
possible
comments.
thing that you could say.
I agree that's going to be there.
Also, if you want to go over to iTunes and say what you think, if you think that we have a highly rated podcast, go on and do that. If you don't think that we do, just don't do anything. Go to SoundCloud and comment about how shitty we are.
Yeah.
But yeah, keep it up.
All right. Well, that'll do it for this week. It's Chris Atkins and Jeremy Scott and Barrett Sher. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit Cinemasins.com.
I think you enjoy this.
It's a game.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fun game. Oh, shit. Oh, shit.
I broke everything.
It's all right. He doesn't need that mic.
No.
I made it look like nothing happened.
Oh, sweet.
Unless he's already recording.
Yeah. He probably is.
It looks like it.
Yeah. He's really like...
We'll be busted when he does the edit.
Yeah.
What these fucking guys do to my mic? It's like that episode of Seinfeld with the briefcase. And George puts the tape recorder in the briefcase to find out what they say about him after he leaves. And so when he gets back to Jerry's,
is that the one where it said where they're like, "Did you see his fingernails? They look like they've been eaten by weevils." Is that the one?
No, because it's like they talk about business, and then like there's a loud galonk, and there's like a noise, and basically the briefcase got destroyed. Anyway, he goes back in the next. It's like the
I don't know if
foundation
I've
for his
seen
dead
that
wife.
one.
It's a metallic squint.
Yeah, a galonk. There's somebody says something like "look out" or something like that.
Oh,
dear God, yeah. And he goes back and does this whole accusation, like law defense, and then the guy goes, "Well, George, so and so tripped on your briefcase, which for some reason contained a running tape recorder."
The best part of that is that he does like a mock-up diorama.
Yeah,
and he's got like, you know, this is this person, this is this person. He's got like an M&M, and he's got Wolverine, and he's like, "Here I come in," and he's Wolverine, and Jerry's like, "No, this should be you." And he's got the M&M.
It's also after George finally leaves, the guy in charge goes, "Does anyone else think George killed his wife?" And the other guy's like, "I just assumed he did." I was flipping channels on my satellite radio, and I saw on the 90s channel they were playing a Creed song. And I was like, "Oh yeah, Creed," because I had completely forgotten about Creed. And then I thought, how happy do you think Creed is that Nickelback came along to take the brunt of all the jokes about shitty rock bands that are still popular?
Yeah,
because Creed was on its way to that, and then Nickelback came along.
There's even that South Park where Cartman creates a Christian rock band, and you know, and the whole idea is to take love songs and then just put Jesus wherever they're and they were like, "What do you think? That's not gonna work." And he's like, "It worked for Creed."
It was the one that wasn't My Sacrifice or With Arms Wide Open. What was their other? My Own Prison.
Oh,
I created
my own prison.
You know what's funny is that the band that actually wins in School of Rock. You remember that, like the Creed like band that actually wins, and they've got the dude with like the jacket that only covers like his bicep and like comes up to here. That reminds me of Scott Stapp, because he would always go out there and do like the Jesus pose and everything. Oh, it's awful.
I was sitting at a table, and there was these cupcakes over in the middle or whatever, and I'm just eating my food, and this lady comes over and she's like, "Oh, I gotta take one of these," you know, and I was like, yeah, it's our secret, and and I didn't even know it was Margot Kidder until the next day when I woke up and I saw a story about the Rhode Island Comic Con on the news. and the news was like everybody from Superman, and it's like shows Dean Cain, who was like right across from our booth or whatever, and it's like to Lois Lane, and I was like, hey, that's that lady.
And Wallace Goggins is really, really great.
Walton Goggins.
Walton Goggins.
The girl in Beijing. Randy.
Mandy.
Anyway, she was there, and then Dean Cain, but Dean Cain looked like a NASCAR guy. He had like a hat and all this stubble, and didn't look like Dean Cain. And of course, Margot Kidder didn't look like Margot Kidder when we first saw her because we didn't recognize her. But like, what's his name? Shit, I am the worst at names. Hellboy.
Ron Perlman.
He looked like Ron Perlman.
Yeah, well, he can't not look like even Hellboy looks like Ron Perlman. That's true.
Well, Ron Perlman looks so much like Ron Perlman that, if you know what I mean, that even when they try to hide him in certain roles or whatever, you're like, that's Ron Perlman.
Yep.
You know, he can put him under
Fantastic Beasts. He looks like
Fantastic Beast. I was like, that's Ron Perlman, right? They tried to make him look different, but he's not, and he's not.
That's gonna be a good one.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
No, what is it?
There's a guy on Twitter who called him a cocaine addict, and James Woods sued him for $10 million.
Yeah.
And I don't think he won the award, but he's now in court trying to force the anonymous Twitter user to have their name revealed, even though this person has died since then.
Oh, shit.
Like, he's so vindictive about this one tweet. You have it.
All right. I'm going to be reading it off like a chump.
That's all right. Like a chump. Hey.
Yeah, that's right.
Chump. Hey.
Drop the Limp Bizkit reference.
I've already referenced Limp Bizkit and Creed in the first 10 minutes. So.
I'll never forget Carson Daly after playing that video back in 1999. He was like, I smell summer of 1999 with that song. And he was right.
He was right.
He also did at least once a week when it was up there in the top 10. He was like, "What would we have done if nothing had rhymed with cookie?"
Yeah, what would we? Where would we be as society if we didn't have that rhyme?
I love peas like that.
Huh?
I love peas like that, where you've been holding it up for just ages, and you
yeah.
finally get there, and like you lean against the
double
wall.
P.
Oh, what?
It's a double P, basically.
It's twice.
Because you had to pee, and then the other one, the next time you had to pee, got on top of that.
It's like your life force is just gushing out of you.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like
double P.
It's kind of like Austin Powers, you know, and he wakes up and everything. And he goes through that long pee, and then it stops. It's like a little drip, and then it's like gushing after that.
Here we are in beautiful St. Louis.
Oh, I have
town
seen that.
of Nelly, famous for that song. It's getting hot in here, and most of you know the next line to that song. It's like classic Bob Costas is going insane, and no one's going to stop.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Like, he did some crazy shit at the Olympics too, but this was about as rambly. And like Deadspin's post was just like, "Why, Bob Costas? Why?" Or something like that.
He has gotten to that point. Well, remember the thing with Pedro Strop when he I think it was a couple of years ago, where he gave up a few runs in a Cubs game, and he walks off and he does that, you know, like little finger to the heavens type of thing. And Bob Costas is like, and he looks up into the heavens, and where his ancestors are telling him that he did such a bad job or something like that.
Oh my God.
He's looking for help from his ancestors or something like that. It's like, come on, Bob Costas.